Greetings, friends and family and happy campers.
Thank you for coming.
It's Tony and Kris, back for another show. The beauty of this, I think, is that there's no threat of being canceled because, I mean, either you watch or you don't, but there's no idiot above us going, I don't think this is working. I'm going to cancel you guys. Coming up a little later in this episode, as we are now in Thanksgiving week, and I'm sure you're all excited and ready to go, some Thanksgiving dishes you don't want to see on the table.
Oh, I hate so much about Thanksgiving. I got a lot.
Well, now, remember, we're not unpacking all the family issues and things like that.
No,
It's
I'm
just
talking
food.
strictly food.
Strictly food. Okay. So the dishes that people are like, why are we doing this? I'm over it. I can't understand why this is a thing. That's coming up a little later. But we're going to get started with maybe one of the biggest stories of the week, like it or not, and that is Taylor Swift.
Have you seen the videos of young ladies crying? I mean, in tears, like you would thought they just lost a loved one because they were kicked out of a queue. And I get it. You know, there's concerts I've wanted to see growing up that I'm like, this would mean so much to me, but I've never been moved to tears.
Well, I mean,
it shows you how devoted her fan base is.
Well, it's huge. We're in an odd generation because we're Generation X, the best generation.
Yes.
Sorry.
Or a Generation Triple X would have been more my speed.
Nice. We came between, when we were younger, I waited in line. I physically stood in line to get tickets for Van Halen and Motley Crue and Iron Maiden and some of these other bands. But very shortly after that, Ticketmaster and these other places started making the move where you could do it over the phone, or you could do it, it wasn't even online at that point. It was started with phone stuff. But now, I love the convenience of buying tickets online, but there's always some kind of big technical issue when it's a huge artist like Taylor.
Well, and they're trying to stop the scalpers because people go in on the computers and buy thousands of tickets and then immediately triple the price. I've heard that tickets are going like up to $3,000.
I saw a parent tweet something about the fact that they won the war, they got tickets for their kids, but it cost more than their first car.
Wow. The good news out of all this mess is Ticketmaster's being investigated now, or some councilman's senator, somebody is looking into all these fees because they have no competition. And they're like, oh, there's a charge fee. There's this fee. There's that fee.
Oh, you have arms and legs? Oh, well, there's a fee for that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, you're going to listen to the show? Oh, well,
you have ears? Oh,
that's a $25 fee.
That's an ear fee.
So that's the good news out of all this mess.
It's crazy. I mean, my daughter is one of these people, and she's 30, but she is a total Swiftie. Here's the text I got the other day. I spent the entire day staring at the Ticketmaster queue screen, and I finally got in, bag secured for Taylor Swift tour in May. So she lives in Nashville. She's going to see that. And then what was crazy was she said, thank you. I said, congratulations. It was scary. I accidentally got wheelchair seats, but they're really amazing. LMAO, sorry to the disabled Swifties.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, clearly it's open to anybody, and I don't know how that works or whatever, but I mean, just getting in after hours of sitting there all day. And I've seen so many parents saying, if I don't get these tickets, my kid's going to disown me. And it's just not right.
I just remember when I was a kid, and I'd be like, hey, I want to go do this. And my dad would go, no. And that was it. That was the end of that.
I think there's something to be said. And I think as a father, one of your jobs is to say no, even if you don't really mean no, just to let them know that I don't say yes to stuff.
When did it change? Because I know when I was young, and that was a long time ago, but like kids were told no. And I think back to when we did a show and we got our hands on like 6 Tickle Me Elmos. That was a year where Tickle Me Elmo was the thing. And we auctioned them off for St. Jude. And it was around Christmas time. And we had people thousands of dollars to get a Tickle Me Elmo. And I'm like, your kid will be done with this within an hour.
Yeah, they will lose interest in this in a day. It happens. It happens all the time. Cabbage Patch Kids. A lot of those things you have to go back to the 80s and 90s, I think, to really get it. But even now, like last year or two, PlayStation 5. Again, my oldest of all, my 30-year-old, I really want one, and I was there. I was in the Walmart queue. I spent the money to sign up for Walmart Plus or whatever, and I'm in the queue, and I'm all excited, nervous, and I have to admit, it was kind of fun.
Oh.
But the difference is, back in the old days, like when Black Friday shopping and stuff came around, you had to go out there and get in it. You were in the trenches. You were fist to fist, elbow to elbow, getting busy. Now it's all online, which makes it a little safer, I guess.
Now, with all that being said about telling kids no, Lily really wants to go to this show.
So anybody can get her some tickets.
So I've already reached out to Borchetta. I don't expect to hear back from him, but I'm just saying that and Hamilton in Knoxville she wants to go to. And I would love for her and Rach to go see them.
Did you make any effort to buy these tickets on your own?
No.
So you didn't get in the queue? You didn't try?
Everybody I know, though, I was like, hey, you work in the business. I did everything I hate that people do to me.
So you pulled the move.
But now I can say, oh, I tried. See, that's what I was doing. I didn't expect a response. I just needed to be able to say I tried.
I don't care if I actually get them. I just have to be able to check the box that says,
exactly.
Hey guys, I did everything I could.
Standard dad move.
I did everything I could except get online and try to buy tickets. You're like everything we've hated for years and years.
Exactly.
Guys, I'll do anything for tickets except buy them. Love it. Did you see Dave Chappelle on SNL this past weekend?
I think that man is brilliant.
Personally, I think he's probably the funniest, most brilliant comedian alive today. And I know a lot of you were thinking
Shecky Green.
Jeff Foxworthy.
Oh.
I mean, I'm sorry, no. This guy, like him or not, I know a lot of people don't like him. A lot of people are upset about him. But the thing is, the things that people get mad at him about, they don't really have a right to get mad, because when you go back and really watch it, it's like, he's not doing the things that these people are saying he's doing, in my opinion. I think he's brilliant.
I agree, 100%.
So he was on SNL a week ago talking about everything that Kanye's been doing and the whole thing, and then you got people blaming him for being anti-Semitic, when I think he was pointing out very true, factual things. Some of them are a little stereotypical, but stereotypes are there for a reason.
If you've ever called anyone in your life a snowflake, you should not be offended by Dave Chappelle. And
he made a great comment. He said, man, this stuff is making it so difficult for me to do my job. And it's true. I mean, comedians should be allowed to joke about anything. And look, you don't like it, don't watch that comedian. And I think Ricky Gervais said it great. It's not offensive. You're offended. And those are two different things.
Yes. What I like, and this has nothing to do with his content, that's amazing to me. A good friend of ours is a stand-up comedian, Mal Hall. Look him up if you get a chance. Mal and Jerry Seinfeld, I've seen say this. They take years to build an hour's worth of content, or 10 minutes. Like if you watch Comedians in Cars, you'll see Seinfeld talking to a comedian about how much you got for your next tour. And he's like, I'm at 9 minutes right now. Dave Chappelle did a 15-minute monologue that was hilarious that he came up with in a week.
You were telling me something about, I guess there was a separate monologue of different
Yes.
material?
Oh, he faked everybody out at SNL because this monologue is so controversial. What he did was, during the run-through, they do a pre-show 2 hours before the real Saturday Night Live, where they do costumes. It's just
real shows, not like this one, rehearse.
Yeah, yeah, they rehearse.
Yeah.
And he did an entire 15-minute segment monologue because he knew it would get shot down. Wow. So he did that. And then when he went out for the real one, he did what he really wanted to do, what he did, so they couldn't stop him.
Man, I just think the guy's hilarious. I think he's beyond being funny, because I think a lot of people are funny. I think he is very smart, and I think he's very thoughtful about what he says.
Yeah, he doesn't do it in a mean spirit way.
When he got into all the trouble over the transgender comments and LGBTQ and everything, and I cared about that. It was important to me because I'm a supporter of everyone. And when I saw it, I said, man, I don't want to have to not like this guy because of this. And I went back and watched the comedy that they were, and I said, well, he really didn't do. And I don't live in that world, so maybe I missed it. But I didn't see anything about that was offensive. I saw a man making a joke about something that is out there in the world and people are talking about. And if a comedian can't do that,
yep,
then we won't have comedians anymore.
Exactly. So anyhow, we got off on that rant.
Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's necessarily offensive. A lot of points get made. If people had had this thin of skin in the 50s and 60s, where would the movements be that have come so far since then? I don't know. Anyway, that's a little too serious. Let's get out of this and let's move on to something safe.
Yeah, enough talking about comedians. It's not funny.
There's nothing funny about comedy. Let me tell you that. That's where we're coming to, though.
Yeah, I get it.
We're almost getting to that point where, well, nobody's allowed to be funny because if you make fun of anybody for anything, you get canceled.
Oh, and then they can come on this show because we're never funny.
And we've been canceled way back when.
Yep.
And that's the beauty. The freedom of being canceled is you don't care anymore.
Exactly.
I brought it up a little bit as we talked about Taylor Swift tickets, but Black Friday coming up this Friday, and we're going to get to the Thanksgiving stuff, but is Black Friday still a thing?
I was just asking myself that the other day. It's funny you bring that up because so many pre-sales now and getting out ahead of things, and now 80% of the crowds don't go out. It's like, I'll just do it online and have it delivered to my door.
It's like we wait for Cyber Monday, which is a few days after that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like Super Bowl commercials. If you don't know this, I mean, back in the dark ages, you didn't know what the commercials were going to be on the Super Bowl. Everybody watched the Super Bowl so you could see the commercials, which were like, even if you didn't like football, you watched.
Now they realize, oh, we'll get a few million views if we release it early.
That's it. Everything comes out early. So with like Black Friday sales, you didn't used to know what was going to be the big thing. There's a thing called a newspaper, and it used to be delivered to your house, and it was just pages and pages of yesterday's news. But in it would be these advertisements. Hey, coming up this Friday, here's the Black Friday specials. And you would have it printed out in your hand. It was weird. It seems like a million years ago.
I think Black Friday's over. What I would do is start a list day where everyone posts their list. And then that way they can say, like, where are the best deals, or where people sit down and go, here's what I'm buying this year, and then can kind of start going. Because otherwise...
Like crowdsourcing deals, basically. Yeah. I love this. I came across this tweet I wanted to share with you from Martin Lewis. My Black Friday shopping memo. If you're going to buy it anyway and it's half price, you've saved 50%. If you weren't going to buy it, but you do because it's half price, you've wasted 100%.
You know, I love my mom more than anything, but like she would come home with an escalator and be like, it was on sale. It was too good of a deal to pass up.
How can we be using stairs like a sucker when this thing was only $7,000?
And only $40,000 to install.
Well, if you're going out there and you're doing the crowd thing, put it in the comments. We want to see, what are you going out to buy? What are you actually leaving your house and going to a brick and mortar store to buy? What is that important? Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about, Thanksgiving's coming up. Now, Kris, you've got kind of an issue this year. You guys generally get your food from a restaurant and you pre-order it.
That's for Christmas usually.
Oh, okay. It's Christmas. Okay. Yes. I'm sorry.
And then where I've screwed up this year is the past few Thanksgivings. Last Thanksgiving, I believe Rach was up in Minnesota with Lily. This year, she's like, hey, you're in charge of finding where we're going. And I was like, oh, yeah.
She planned to go somewhere.
Yeah. And I was like, and you see, we went to your house that one year where you cooked, and it was fantastic, lots of fun. And then several years, our friends John and Holly, we've been over at theirs for Thanksgiving. And I was like, oh, and she was like, where are we going? Like, I guess at some point this has been put into my charge, and I was not ready for that. So now I'm kind of scrambling.
I think it's kind of interesting that you guys are just the nomad Thanksgiving guys. You just expect that you're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be here.
I was going to say, has it never just come up to, hey, let's cook and have our own Thanksgiving?
No, not yet.
Okay. Hey, everybody's got their thing.
So, but my last ditch effort will be one of these restaurants here in town. They have these packages that I don't understand why more families don't do it. I'm talking like $70 for a family of 5.
Yeah.
And they get you everything and you're done.
I think a lot of it depends on how Thanksgiving was for you when you were younger, because either you have some nostalgia about Thanksgiving and you had, these memories that mean something or whatever, or it was just another day that wasn't that big of a deal for whatever reason. So I think if it was a not that big of a deal kind of thing, then you're comfortable just kind of bouncing around, you're ordering in, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Like for me, I mean, my mom, she made it a huge spread, and she did it all by herself because my dad, until he retired, was useless. When he retired, suddenly he became an expert in everything that she had been doing for 30 years. Patty, I've been meaning to say something for 30 years. You've been cooking that turkey wrong.
Well, you know what? Talking about cooking, we had a thing come up on our socials. We had a post that had a ton of comments about which do you prefer, to cook or to clean. The amount of people that said, I have to do both was amazing. You might want to call some folks out. Dude, if you're doing all the cooking, you might want to say, hey, dishes are in the sink.
And Thanksgiving, it's a huge meal to cook if you're cooking it, and you're left with all this stuff. I try to clean as I go, but with that meal, it's difficult. Many hands make light work. Isn't that the quote? If you're not cooking, you owe a little help in the kitchen for cleaning up. This is a quick thing, not related to Thanksgiving, but my only personal story that I've got right now. I just have to say a huge kudos to my wife. Katie works for Williams-Sonoma. She works at the corporate level. She works in human resources, not the side where you take all the complaints about people getting upset, but you in the technical side of things, getting people paid and things like that. So they give out awards at this company, and I watched this woman, and I'm not just saying this because she's my wife. She is a centerpiece of so much that goes on there. So many people wouldn't be able to do their job.
I watched that
without her.
I've seen that.
She just is one of those people. She is a catch-all for all these things. But she never really gets recognized. They give out these little awards, and she never gets nominated. She never wins. And I don't know why. Part of it might be that she's not in the office. She works remotely and has now for about 9 years. So a couple nights ago, they're having this big global thing. Like 200 people are going to be on the call, and you've got to be there, and you've got to be on camera, which makes her super nervous.
Wow.
Well,
that's a lot of people on a Zoom.
It is. If you've ever watched any of the Facebook Live that she and I did, there's a reason the puppet's on screen. She doesn't like to be on camera. but she has to be.
Same thing assassins do. They don't like to have their photo taken.
That's right. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm still wondering about that. If there's something I don't know about her. So anyway, they had this big meeting, and long story short, she gets this really cool award that's handed from peer to peer. Like a person wins it, and it's that person's job in the next quarter to hand it off to someone else they believe is worthy.
Okay.
And she won it. It's called the Starfish Award. I'm stopping myself from making a lot of jokes. I don't know why it's called that, but she won it, and the gentleman that handed it to her said some lovely things. And the best part was her boss's boss, or her boss's boss's boss, got on and said some really nice things. Mm-hmm. She was riding high, and it made me feel so good. And I guess that's how you know you love somebody, when something great happens to them and you feel like you're part of it. It was wonderful, because she is always constantly worried about, I don't think they know what I do. I don't think they understand what I'm doing. And I thought it was fantastic, and I love seeing her get that. So this is just a shameless plug for my wife.
Oh, she deserves it. Congratulations, Katie. Now, would it be rude or in poor taste for us to go to the trophy shop, buy a trophy, and send our former boss a chocolate starfish award?
Poor taste? Maybe.
Okay.
Am I into it? 100%.
Absolutely.
If it's in poor taste, I'm on board. Quick thank you. We had our first sponsor on the last show, Ben at Home. And this time, two of my favorite places. Got to say, I'm a huge vinyl collector. I love collecting records. And two stores here in Knoxville, Tennessee, Lost and Found Records and Wild Honey Records.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
I want to thank them. They're our sponsors this week. If you want to order stuff online, I'll tell you, Maria, who's kind of runs the show at Lost and Found, and Brian and Brooke, who run the show at Wild Honey, they're wonderful people. They'll order stuff for you. They can get things that other people can't get.
Oh, cool.
LostandFoundRecordStore.com and WildHoneyRecords.com. That's the websites, but you can also find them on Instagram, Facebook, all the social media places. We thank them for what they do. I thank you for letting me come spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars that I don't have on vinyl at your stores. And they also do CDs and cassettes and other collectibles and stuff.
There's just something about listening on vinyl. It takes me back to my youth. But I had Eddie Rabbit on the other day, and it was just so relaxing, and I love it.
People ask me, why you have your iPod, you have all these things, and then I get it.
Albums tell a story. They used to, anyway.
The idea is an artist puts together this story, and they lay it out. They put a lot of work into how the songs play out. And when you're listening to it like that, you're hearing it the way they intended. If it's a concept album, especially, you're hearing it the way they intended, but you're involved. I mean, when I pull a record out, I'm touching this thing. I'm actively involved. I'm looking at the liner notes that you can't get anywhere else, and it's a thing. So I highly recommend it. I think we might have either Maria or Brian or both on at some point to talk about if you want to start collecting vinyl.
Oh, cool.
Would love that. The best ways to do that, cheap ways to do it. It's a lot of fun. But we thank them, LostandFoundRecordStore.com, WildHoneyRecords.com. So let's talk about Thanksgiving. Everybody talks about the things they love. I can't wait for this. I can't wait for that. But what are the foods or the side dishes that you are over? Things that you're like, oh, why is this a thing?
I got a list.
Most people have a few things at least.
What do you think?
For me, I'm gonna wait because I want to share some comments. Mine goes along with the number one thing. It involves a vegetable that should never be turned into a casserole. Mm-hmm. You're probably already knowing what this is. I would say beyond that, my next one would be sweet potato casserole or yams.
Is that the stuff that looks like a can, the jelly?
Well, that's cranberry sauce.
Okay. Out.
You're off on that? Okay. I don't like sweet potato casserole. I don't like yams. Since I was a child, I don't know what it is, if it's the texture or the flavor, but it makes me physically gag.
And you know what makes it worse is people try to push that stuff on you. It's like if you go into a place on your own free will and you're making your dish and you're like, oh, I'm getting my plate. Oh, you need to try this. You need to do this. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. No, you really need to try that. And I'm like, no, I don't need to try that. I do not want that. Fine, I'll get it.
It makes me think back, not related to Thanksgiving, but my second grade year in West Milton Elementary School in Ohio. Mrs. Dittmer, I still remember her name, cat-eye glasses, mean lady. We were at lunch, and I couldn't eat English peas, the big fat peas.
Because you hate the English.
No.
Oh, that's not it?
That's not it.
Oh.
Something about the size of them, the texture, they made me gag. At home, I only ate little baby peas, little teensy peas. And she said, Tony, she came walking by. This is when teachers actually came to the cafeteria with students.
Monitored your eating.
Seriously. Tony, you need to eat your peas. And I said, I'm sorry, Mrs. Dittmer, I can't eat that. It makes me sick. She forced me to eat 2 bites of these peas. I threw up all over the floor. And even Tony Randall at age 7, I looked up at her and said, that's why I can't eat peas.
There you go.
I gave it to her.
I told you so, Tony.
That's right. Mrs. Dittmer. who's dead now.
Yes, deservingly
Not be-
so.
well, not-
Oh, no,
not
we're not
because-
going to that?
Well, not because of me. That made it sound who's dead now because I killed
She
her.
got hers.
I had nothing to do with her passing. She just died of old age. I want to make that very clear. All right. So anyway,
But you weren't broke up about it. Let's just say that.
did I do a dance? No, not. I don't. I barely remembered her. But that is the story. It's amazing. A story that will stick with you for that many years.
I love some poor woman that's been dead 30 years. Has just been danced all over.
Now I feel bad. I'm sorry, Mrs.
I do not feel bad. I'm all about this.
All right. So let's talk about some Thanksgiving dishes that you said you don't want to see. A surprising answer from Andrew: turkey.
Really?
He says, I've never had a good homemade one in 46 years of Thanksgivings. They're way too much work for such a disappointing outcome. Wow. It's funny. Katie and I were just talking about this a couple nights ago. The last year we did a chicken recipe that she found, but before that, the last 2 years before that, and I've been cooking turkeys for years, but as she put it, you screwed the pooch. I didn't do a good job on the turkey for a couple of years in a row, and I was very disheartened. And I kind of was like, I'm just going to stop cooking them.
Why'd you have a bad time?
I don't know what happened. I had a great recipe, one I had used before. I'm blaming it on the oven. Oh, this oven.
Yeah.
It's not cooking evenly.
If you'd only had a better oven.
Better oven would have fixed this. It couldn't be my stupidity. Probably was. Teresa says cranberry sauce / gel. She doesn't like the gel either.
It's awful.
But I've made homemade cranberry sauce, and I don't like that either. So I guess what I'm saying is unless cranberry juice is in my drink, I'm not into cranberries.
Okay.
I guess that's the thing. We had a lot of sweet potato casseroles, a lot of yams. I'm glad to know I'm not alone in that. Bonita, stuffing. Deborah, ham. There, I said it. Ham. I know some people do have ham for Thanksgiving. That was never a Thanksgiving dish
Really?
for our family. We either had it for Christmas or for Easter.
Okay.
Pumpkin pie. Margie, you're off the list.
I am not a fan of pumpkin pie. I'm with her.
It is my favorite. I look forward to it every year. I make my mom's recipe every year. We only make it at Thanksgiving because it's a special treat, and I don't understand people who don't like pumpkin.
I'd be down with pizza
I mean, I love pizza.
and ice cream for Thanksgiving.
Okay, well, I'm on board. I'd like to sign up for your newsletter.
Okay.
And then the number one, the thing that most people mention, and I am 100% with you on this. I'd like to somehow be a part of your club. Green bean casserole. It is disgusting. Taking green beans, pouring cream of mushroom soup or whatever, and then throwing crispy onions on top. It's awful.
Nobody wants it. Nobody cares for it.
Who decided, you know what I'm going to do is put this stuff together, and I think it'll be tasty. It's awful.
And I don't think it's too much to say. If there's someone in your family that's going, no, green bean casserole is fantastic, you need to have them checked out immediately.
Lock them up. Kick them out.
CAT scan, the works. Something's up.
A complete psych evaluation, but it's disgusting, and we are with you all the way. Thank you.
Now it's time for Thanksgiving sports. Here's the deal. We're not going to get too deep into this, but if you're not a big NFL fan, but you know it's going to be on all day, and you're like, I want to look like I'm in the group, I'm going to tell you just a couple things real quick. You just need to drop during the game, and everyone will go, wow, he or she's got it going on.
So these phrases you can use that make it sound like you know what you're talking about. I love this. Let's do it.
Bills and Lions are the first game at 12:30.
Okay.
During that, you need to say, the Lions haven't been good since Wayne Fonts was the coach.
Okay. I'm trusting you on this.
Yeah,
Are you going to make a fool out of me?
No, you drop that. They're going to go, wow.
Okay.
Wayne Fonts. That was back in their good 8-8 days.
The fonts.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Giants and Cowboys, 4:30. All you have to do that. Cowboys play every Thanksgiving.
Right.
Is just say, boy, the Cowboys haven't been good since they got rid of Craig Morton. Patriots, Vikings. All you have to drop on that one is, wow, Mac Jones has been out for a while. They can't decide on him. I just wish they'd bring Steve Grogan back. He's the best Patriots quarterback ever.
Best neck in football.
Best neck in football. So that's all you need to drop.
Okay, well, look at you making us smart about football.
That's what I do.
All right, as we get ready to wrap this up, a few little things that we didn't want to spend a ton of time on, but we feel like it has to be mentioned, and that's how we close this particular show, The Last List. So let's jump into it. Big story, and again, we don't get into politics too hard, but Trump announced he's going to run again.
He's already announced he's a victim.
I don't understand this guy. I don't understand how a billionaire who hates poor people gets so many poor people to love him.
I hate all politicians. That's no secret. I mean, I think Biden's crazy. I think Trump's crazy. I think they're all crazy. But it does crack me up how he paints himself as a victim. And I'm like, dude.
I guess the thing that bugs me most about this guy is how he runs on a family values kind of situation when he's cheated on every woman he's ever been with.
Yeah. And then the other thing he does that drives me nuts, it sounds like we're Trump bashing now because we are.
Well, I mean,
but
take your pick. I mean,
it's just a constant thing with him of blaming everybody and being mean. And yet his wife, when she was the first lady, her thing was anti-bullying, and he calls people fat. He calls them stupid. He makes fun of handicap. I mean, it's just like, gosh, dude, you're just mean.
Forget the presidency. I just think he's a rotten human being.
Yeah.
And I mean, and he's not alone. There are tons of them out there.
Yeah, in either party.
Yeah, this is not about politics. This is about just being a bad human being. Anyway, there you go. Did you know Survivor is still on?
I did not. I haven't seen it since the first year. Was that the year with Rudy?
Rudy, yeah.
We had Rudy on the
The
show,
old guy.
and then I haven't seen it since.
I watched several seasons. I was into it. I liked the show. I watched maybe the 6 or 7 seasons, then I popped in again here and there. But I thought it was long gone, and I was on Twitter, I think, the other night, and Jeff Probst was giving an interview, and they were talking, and people were like, still into it. I didn't even know it was on television right now.
I'm curious to know the ratings on that because there's so many more options now than when that show first came on.
It can't be good.
I mean, there's thousands of options now.
I think the thing is now with network television, with ratings, their bar has lowered so much, what they consider successful, because there's so much competition.
Well, if you look back, we talk about it in the 80s, like the Cosby Show and those kind of shows had like 30 shares in ratings. And then Big Bang Theory was a monster smash, had like a 7 share. And it was like, oh, it's number one. It's huge.
I didn't like that show. What's the last network show? Not something that streams as well. Like Yellowstone, I know, is on TV, but you can also stream. What's the last thing that you watched that was just on television?
That I tuned in every week to say, oh, we got
something that you watched with any regularity.
Gosh.
I mean, probably sports.
Oh, yeah. Well, sports, yes.
But like, I can't think of a show. I can't remember the last
I
television
remember West
show.
Wing was my appointment viewing.
God, and that's what, early 2000s?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't know of one that
Yeah, news and sports. I mean, we'll turn on reruns of, The Office or Friends or whatever, and I'll turn that for the dogs when I leave the house. But I can't think of a thing I watch on television.
I take that back. The Office. Was that after West Wing?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that was the last thing. So speaking of streaming, let's talk a little bit about a show that has been a monster. It's always trending top of the list on Netflix, and people are so crazy into it.
Yes.
I've never seen an episode. The Crown.
Yeah, I don't understand why people are fascinated with it.
It's so funny to me, our fascination in America with England and everything royal. It's like, man, we won that war. We beat you guys. Why do we care what you think?
Everything with England ended with me with Bentley from the Jeffersons and Benny Hill.
Okay, well, I do remember staying up late to watch Benny Hill. I was like, hey, sometimes they show naked women on this show. My parents had no idea, so you got to get it where you can get it when you're our age and that back in the day. But I mean, I just the fascination with this and I like like British movies and stuff. I love the King's Speech and stuff like that. So I guess maybe I'd like this show. I just haven't seen enough about it to care.
I haven't either. Until King Ralph shows up, I'm not interested. Now they just did film the Princess Di crash scene.
Ooh.
I know they blocked off the lanes and everything. It was a big deal over there. How they're going to handle it.
I was going to say, how are you going to handle something like that so delicate?
I don't know.
Man, well, when Queen Latifah shows up, then I might be interested.
Then you got something. Then you got royalty.
King Ralph, Queen Latifah. That's about the only royalty I really know. If you watch The Crown, hit us up in the comments and let us know what you love about it. What is it about this show that makes it such a huge hit? Because I don't know.
Maybe you can be an official reporter for us on these shows.
Yeah, exactly. Official reporters, you see a lot of those on the red carpet, and we will be seeing them on the red carpet of the Grammys very soon. Grammy Awards nominations just came out the other day, and as usual with the show, I recognize maybe 30% of the names.
That's the way it was. When I remember growing up, I watched all the award shows, and I'd be like, the Grammys, never heard of any of these people. Yeah. None of them.
Well, and it's funny because, we've been working in the country music industry for so long, and, you'd think about, all the artists that had such a great year, and then the nominees would be people that they were very talented and great people, but I was like, I didn't know Emmylou Harris put a record out this year. How is she getting nominated for a Grammy? But I am excited. I didn't look through all the lists, but I did see some stuff that I liked. And on the country side of things, I'm so happy to see Willie Nelson. His latest album is nominated. He's got a song and a couple other things nominated, and it's so good.
I guarantee a win for him because we're not going to have him much longer, and he is one of the last real legends left. I mean, the last time we saw him at the CMA Awards, he walked by us and we were like, Willie doesn't look like he's going to live through the night. And that was...
He's looked better since then a couple of times, but he definitely looked frail. But it's a great album. And in listening to it, I've listened to it a few times on vinyl. I feel like it's almost like a goodbye to the fans, because there's some songs on there that are just these beautiful messages that could be a love song to one person, but it really feels more like I'm saying that I love my fans and for everything you've given me.
Like Johnny Cash's Hurt.
Very
kind of a farewell.
Yeah, very much like that. So if that album does not win Best Country Album at the Grammys, I will probably go to the all the members and burn their houses down. Or
Oh, wow.
At least shoot
That's
their
a-
porch lights out or something.
I was going to suggest a harshly worded letter, but
That's I probably won't even do that if we're being honest. Pretty lazy. So, all right, one more thing on the last list, and it's a list of its own actually. Oprah's favorite things.
Oprah.
She still does this, and I mean I know she's still a huge whatever, but she's not on TV really anymore. And do we still care about this?
People loved it because they got $70,000 worth of prizes the day it would happen if you happened to be there when she'd do it.
Yeah.
And it'd be like gold-plated nail clippers, stuff.
Some of it was really cool. I know one year everybody got a car or something, but mostly it was just like random stuff around the house.
Oh, paper towels. Bounty.
You get a paper towel, and you get a paper. So anyway, she still does a list. I didn't recognize most of the stuff on there. I don't run out and buy stuff because Oprah likes it, and I'm scared of people that have that kind of power.
Yeah.
They can convince other people that this is something they have to have.
That's the reason why I can't watch those Joe Namath commercials. I get a reverse mortgage like that.
Well, I mean, when Broadway Joe tells you to get a reverse
Exactly.
mortgage, you got to say yes. All right, so there's the end of the last list, which brings us really to the end of the show. And thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give us a little like down there. If you really liked it and you think, I want to see more of this, and I see if they ever get better, then you could subscribe, which would be really cool. And make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when new content comes out.
And a lot of that's going to be happening.
We just want you to make sure you take it all in and tell your friends and help us spread the word.
And if you did understand that about how to ring the bell so that you can get notifications and all that, please at Thanksgiving explain to everybody that doesn't get it. You know that uncle that doesn't understand anything? Explain to him, get everybody there to subscribe while you're all sitting around before the fights start.
Yeah. Do it while everybody's sober.
Yes.
That's early
so
on.
Early.
Yeah, early in the day.
Parades. While the parades are going on, get everybody together and do it.
You know it's bad when somebody cracks a beer at like 10 a.m. to watch the Macy's
There's
Day
nothing
Parade.
wrong with that.
I'm not
There's
judging.
nothing- okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying. We got some other videos linked here. I'm not exactly sure what they are this go around, but we encourage you to check them out, and we encourage you to come back to the channel here as often as you can and see what we got going on. We appreciate you watching.